Good evening, Adab, Salam, Namaskar. Respected literary personalities, distinguished guests, dear participants, young PLGians, and all members of PLG family across the world who are connected here on Zoom and those who are watching from YouTube Live. A very warm welcome to all of you to PLG 330 CTL, dedicated to one of the most significant voices in the modern Indian English poetry, Nissim Ezekiel. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you once again on the platform of Poetry and Literary Group International, PLG, where we celebrate literature beyond boundaries of language, geography, age, and background. PLG has always believed that literature is not only to be enjoyed, but also to be studied, understood, discussed, and preserved. Our CTL sessions are designed with this very purpose, to create meaningful literary learning and thoughtful conversation. Today's session is devoted to Nissim Ezekiel, a poet who holds a very important place in Indian English literature. He gave Indian English poetry a distinct modern voice, urban, reflective, sensitive, and deeply connected with the realities of life. His poetry often speaks in simple language, but beneath that simplicity we find sharp observation, gentle humor, irony, self-reflection, and a deep understanding of human nature. Nissim poetry is important because it shows that Indian English poetry can have its own identity, rhyme, cultural background, and emotional truth. He did not merely imitate English poetic tradition, he helped shape a new Indian expression in English. One of the participants has background noise. Please put yourself on mute. Nissim, through his poems, explored modern life, identity, loneliness, faith, doubt, society, relationship, and the small yet meaningful experiences of everyday life. Ladies and gentlemen, for PLG, this CTL is especially meaningful because it brings English literature into our learning space with seriousness and appreciation. Literature grows when we read beyond our comfort zone, when we listen to different voices, and when we understand how different languages carry different shades of human experience. Nissim is one such voice who deserves to be read, remembered, and discussed with respect. We are also very happy to have Drishana Daria as the anchor for today's session. Drishana is a grade 7 student based in Muscat, Oman. She is a Gavel Club member, a passionate public speaker, and a singer, and has a keen interest in literature. It is truly encouraging to see young talent coming forward with confidence and enthusiasm to participate in literary activities. And especially when I see the younger generation interest in this program celebrating the legend, I really feel happy that despite some fears and feelings that the young generation is drifting away from literature, contrary to that, there are young children who are very much interested in the literature. Her presence today reflects one of the PLG's important values: to encourage the younger generation and give them a platform to engage with language, literature, public space speaking, and creative expression. I'm sure Darshana will conduct today's program with grace, sincerity, and youthful energy, and I request all of you to encourage her with your blessing and support. As always, I would like to gently remind everybody that PLG follows a clear literary discipline. We respectfully avoid religious and political content, as these are the two taboos of PLG. Our focus remains on literature, learning, culture, emotions, creativity, and respectful expression. On behalf of Poetry and Literary Group International, PLG, I extend my heartfelt welcome to all our speakers, participants, guests, viewers, and members of PLG family today. Let us begin this thoughtful CTL session on Nissim Ezekiel and understand the beauty, depth, and relevance of his poetry. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Darshana with a big round of applause. Over to you, Darshana.
Thank you very much, Stefan, sir, for your inspiring words and for setting this perfect tone for this beautiful evening. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from whichever part of the world you are. A very special welcome to each one of you who are gathered here for PLG 330 CTL, celebrating Mr. Nissim Ezekiel. Ladies and gentlemen, the literacy journey begins with a question. Tonight, ours is beautifully simple. How does ordinary life become extraordinary literature? Some writers search for inspiration in distant lands. Some write legendary heroes or remarkable events. But there are a rare few who find poetry in everyday life, in a family, in a conversation, in a crowded street, in a passing stranger, on a simple moment that most of us might overlook. Mr. Nissim was one of them. He believed that poetry was never far away. It lived in ordinary people, ordinary homes, ordinary emotions. And perhaps that is why, even today, decades after his poems were first written, they continue to touch readers across generations. Tonight is not merely a poetry program. It's a journey through the life and the mind of one of India's finest modern poets. With every poem, we discover another facet of the man behind the words. A sensitive observer, a gentle humorist, a thoughtful philosopher, a passionate teacher, and above all, a poet who taught us that life's simplest moments often hold its deepest truths. So let us begin our journey not with the poet biography, but with the heartbeat of his poetry. Across many poems written by Mr. Nissim, there is one that has almost become timeless. The Night of the Scorpion. It begins with a simple incident, a mother stung by a scorpion in a small village home. Yet what unfolds is far more than a story. It becomes a moving reflection on fear, faith, family, superstition, compassion, and above all, a mother's unconditional love. It reminds us that the greatest poetry often grows out of life's simplest experiences. To present this unforgettable masterpiece, it is my honor to invite Mr. Narendra Chawlaji from the United States of America. He will be presenting The Night of the Scorpion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a warm round of applause. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my dear daughter. I'm very happy and proud of the children like you who come on the stage and do this job. This is very great, and I wish you best future, bright future. So, about the English poems, being the citizen of any country, if we have somewhat command over the language, then there is no any difficulty. The topics are always available around us, maybe natural, maybe man-made environment. So I always follow. So this poem is of the Nissim. This poet is new for me, as because for the last 60 years I did my post graduation in India, but I never read. But even then, I know about his poems. I come to know that he he has written so many ordinary the topics which are around us become the event of the life. And beside that, there is memory of the mother and the people of the around him. So I start scorpion of the night. Scorpion in the night. I remember the night my mother was stung by a scorpion, 10 hours of steady rain and driven him to crawl beneath his sack of rice. Parting with his poison flash of diabolic tail in the dark room, he risked the rain again. The peasants came like swarms of flies and buzzed the name of God 100 times to paralyze the evil one. With candles and lanterns, throwing giant scorpion shadows on the mud-baked walls, they searched for him. He was not found. They clicked their tongues. With every movement that the scorpion made, his poison moved in the mother's blood, they said. I remember the scorpion in my childhood. I was also hit by and struck by the scorpion. So, may he sit still, they said. May the sins of your previous birth be burned away tonight, they said. This is the assumptions of all the people when something happens. May your suffering decrease the misfortunes of your next birth, they said. May the sum of all evil balanced in his unreal world against the sum of God become diminished by your pain. May the poison purify your flesh. Different people take the reaction about scorpion different. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition, they said. And they sat around on the floor with my mother in the center, the peace of understanding on each face. More candles, more lanterns, more neighbors, more insects, and the endless rain. My mother twisted through and through, groaning on a mat. My father, septic rationalist, trying every curse and blessing, powder, mixture herb, and hybrid. He even poured a little paraffin upon the bitten toe and put a match to it. Oh my goodness. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. I watched the holy man perform his rites to tame the poison with an incantation. After 20 hours, it lost its sting. My mother only said, "Thank God the scorpion picked on me and spared my children." What a great end of the poem. The mother always, she may feel so many problems in the life, but she always pray to God for the betterment and for the best health and no any worries or sufferings to the children. Thanks God. Thank you very much. And my blessings and my love for PLG, Simmi, and Tufailji, and all the participants before and on the back of the stage. Thank you very much. Okay.
Most welcome. Thank you so much. And you presented very nicely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was such a beautiful beginning to our evening. The Night of the Scorpion reminds us that poetry is not merely about words, it's about humanity. It takes an ordinary family, an ordinary night, and transforms it into a story that readers continue to cherish decades later. And perhaps that is exactly where we begin to understand Mr. Nissim Ezekiel, not simply as a poet, but as a compassionate observer of life. Every poet writes from experience, but not every poet sees the world quite in the same way. Mr. Nissim possessed a remarkable gift. He noticed what others hurried past, the quiet grace of everyday life, the beauty hidden in the routine, the questions concealed within ordinary conversations. His poetry reminds us that observation is an art, to notice a bird in flight, to appreciate changing seasons, to understand the emotions of another human being, all require the same quantity, attention. Perhaps that is why he was not only a poet, he was in every sense a careful observer of life. Our next poem beautifully reflects this thoughtful side of his personality. It's my pleasure to invite Ms. Sangeeta Sinhaji from the United Kingdom, who will present Poet, Lover, Birdwatcher. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give her a round of applause. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you very much, Trishana, for hosting in such a wonderful way. You are only in year 7 and doing an excellent job. I'm really proud of you, my dear. Really proud of you. So, as we already know, we are doing this session about Sir Nissim Ezekiel poetry, and I have been given this opportunity to read about the poet, lover, and bird watcher. I think one of my favorite. I love watching birds and things like that. So here goes the poetry. To force the peace and never to be still is not the way of those who study birds. Oh, woman! How wonderful! He's comparing birds and women together. The best poet wait for words. The hunt is not an exercise of will, but patient love relaxing on a hill. To note the movement of a timid wing until the one who knows that she is loved no longer waits but risks surrendering. In this, the poet finds his moral proved, who never spoke before his spirit moved. The slow movement seems somehow to say much more. To watch the rare birds, you have to go along deserted lanes and where the rivers flow. That's true as well. So you have to watch the rare birds in a very, very special place and it has to be very quiet. Where the river flows, in silence near the source or by a shore, remote and thorny like the heart's dark floor. And there the woman slowly turned around, not only flesh and bone, but midst of light, with darkness at the core and senses found. But poets lost in crooked, restless flight. The deaf can hear, the blind can recover sight. Thank you very much. What a wonderful poem to describe how
Very
to do
nice.
bird.
You
What a
recited very well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
very
really
much.
a lovely poem and
Yeah.
recited equally nicely.
Thank you very much. But it's a lovely poem, one of my favorite.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sangeeta ma'am. Your melodious voice and your graceful presentation captured the quiet sensitivity that made Nissim Ezekiel such a distinctive literary voice. Through your narration, we were reminded that poetry begins not with writing, but with noticing. Thank you very much, Sangeeta ma'am. Long before readers knew Mr. Nissim as one of India's foremost poets, there was simply a young boy growing up in Bombay. Born in 1924 in a family of educators, Mr. Nissim Ezekiel grew up to be a part of the atmosphere where books, ideas, and thoughtful conversations were part of his everyday life. His parents nurtured him in deep respect for learning, but perhaps even more importantly, they engaged curiosity. That curiosity stayed with him throughout his life. Whether he was watching people in a busy marketplace, listening to conversations on a train, or reflecting on the small surprises of daily life, he never stopped observing. Years later, those observations would quietly find their way into his poetry. Because great writers do not invent life, they pay attention to it. Our next presenter now brings us to one such delightful observation from Nissim Ezekiel's poetic world. Please welcome Mr. Devam Jain from Qatar, who will present The Visitor. Please welcome him with a round of applause. Mr. Devam, over to you.
Thank you, Miss Dishrana. Today I'm going to talk about Mr. Nissim Ezekiel. He was a very great poet and he wrote many poems. He was born in 1924 in Bombay. He got awarded for Sahitya Academy Award in 1983 and Padma Shri in 1988. He is also known as the father of modern Indian English poet. He is a Jewish poet, actor, and playwright editor. So today I'm going to talk about The Visitor. 3 times the crow has cawed. At the window, baleful eyes fixed. On mine, wings slightly raised, in sinister poise, body tense, and neck craned like a nagging woman's, filling the room with voice and presence. 3 times I got the message, sleepwalking on the air of thought, with muddy clothes and floated down, concerned for all created things. To cope with the visitor whose terms would compromise my own. All day I waited, as befits the fall belief that following the crow a visitor would come, an angel in disguise, perhaps, or else temptation in unlikely shape to test my promises, ruin my sleep. It was not like that at all. His hands were empty, his need only to kill a little time. Between his good intentions and my sympathy, the cigarette smoke was more substantial than our talk. I see how wrong I was not to foresee precisely this. Outside the miracles of mind, the figure in the carpet blazing, ebb flow of sex and the seasons, the ordinaries of most events, by Nissim Ezekiel. So, in this poem, Nissim Ezekiel explores the contrast between expectation and reality. A crow caws 3 times outside the speaker's window. According to Indian folk belief, this means that a visitor is about to arrive. The speaker imagines that the visitor might be someone extraordinary, perhaps an angel, a divine messenger, or someone who will bring an important change or test. However, when the visitor finally arrives, he turns out to be an ordinary person with no special purpose. He simply wants to pass some time. Their conversation is shallow, and even the cigarette smoke seems more meaningful than what they say. By the end of the poem, the speaker realizes that he was mistaken in expecting something miraculous. Life is mostly made up of ordinary, everyday events rather than dramatic or supernatural experiences. Central idea. The poem highlights the gap between human imagination and everyday reality. It reminds us that while we often expect extraordinary moments, life is usually shaped by simple, ordinary encounters. Thank you.
Wow, very nice, Devam. Very
Thank you
nice
very much,
presentation.
Devan. That was really wonderfully presented, and with your confidence, simplicity, and warmth, you reminded us that even the briefest encounters can become memorable stories in the hands of a gifted poet. Thank you, Devam. As Nissim Ezekiel grew older, curiosity carried him far beyond the familiar streets of Bombay. His journey would soon take him across continents, where new ideas, new experiences, and new perspectives would shape the voice that would later refine modern English poetry. The story of that transformation continues as our literary journey unfolds. Every writer reaches a turning point, a moment where curiosity slowly transforms into confidence. For Nissim Ezekiel, that transformation began when he left India to study philosophy in London. Like every young student, he traveled in search of knowledge, but what he found was much more than academic learning. London introduced him to new ideas, different culture, and a wider literary world. It challenged him to think deeply, question freely, and express himself with honesty. Yet, despite everything he experienced abroad, one truth remained unchanged. His poetry belonged to India. His imagination belonged to Bombay. And his heart always found its way back home. When he returned, he was no longer simply a young man with dreams. He had begun to discover the voice that would one day redefine modern Indian English poetry. Our next presenter now brings us a poem that beautifully reflects Nissim Ezekiel's gift, finding meaning beyond the obvious. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Alokita Tiwari from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who will be presenting The Hill. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give her a round of applause. Alokita, over to you.
Nissim Ezekiel gave Indian English poetry its own voice, simple, honest, and deeply rooted in everyday life. With wit and clarity, he turned ordinary moments into timeless reflections on how we live and think. The poem uses hill as a symbol for life in action. Ezekiel says the hill is not just for looking at or thinking about from far away. It's meant to be like wildflowers pushing through rocks to reach the sun. He tells us not to waste time in irony or overthinking. Instead, trust yourself and start giving everything to what you do. This normative hill, like all others, is transparently accessible out there and in the mind, not to be missed. except in peril of one's life. What the hell demands is a man with forces. What the hell demands is a man with forces flowering. Ask the crevices of rocks and rough surfaces. Men hang on for life. What is survival? What is existence? I'm not talking about poetry. I'm talking about digital it activity. I say, be done with it. I say, you gotta love that. Be wrathful. Be impatient that you are not on the hill. Do not forgive yourself or others. So charity is all very well. Do not rest in irony or acceptance. Man should not laugh when he is dying, indecent death. You flow into another kind of time, which is the ill you always thought you knew.
Thank you very much, Alokita.
Very nice, Alokita.
Your calm and graceful presentation allowed the poem to unfold beautifully. You reminded us that some journeys are not measured by the distance we travel, but by the perspective we gain along the way. When Mr. Nissim Ezekiel returned to Bombay, he did not lock himself away to write poetry. He stepped into life. He worked as a teacher, a journalist, an editor, and even in advertising. Each profession brought him closer to people. He listened to conversations, observed habits, noticed expressions, collected stories that most of us might have forgotten by the next morning. That was his extraordinary gift. He never searched for extraordinary people. He simply discovered the extraordinary within ordinary people. Every stranger had a story. Every encounter carried a meaning. And every conversation had the potential to become poetry. Our next poem celebrates exactly that spirit. It gives me great pleasure to invite Miss Alina from the Sultanate of Oman, who will present I Met a Man Once. Miss Alina, over to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alina, and I'll be reciting a poem by Nissim Iskil named I Met a Man Once, which is taken from the poem Hymns in Darkness. So the poem goes like I met a man once who had wasted half his life, partially in exile from himself, partially in a prison of his own making. An energetic man, an active man. I liked his spirit and saw no hope for him. Yet he had the common touch. He could, for instance, work with his hands. To others, all attentive, to his own needs, indifferent. A tireless social human being, destined always to no defeat, like a twin brother. I saw him cheerful in the universal darkness as I stood grimly in my little light. Thank you so much.
Very nice, Alina.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alina. Your natural and engaging presentation brought warmth and life to the poem you presented. It reminded us that every person we meet leaves behind a story, and sometimes those stories become unforgettable through the eyes of a poet. As Nissim Ezekiel's reputation continued to grow, readers began to admire not only what he wrote, but also the way he thought. His poems rarely gave ready-made answers. Instead, they encouraged reflection. He believed that literature should never dictate what we must think. Rather, it should inspire us to think for ourselves. Perhaps that was the influence of philosophy, a discipline he had studied formally, but one he practiced throughout his life. His questions were never distant or abstract. They emerge from everyday experiences, from relationships, from society, from the choices we make. And exploring those questions, he invited readers to become fellow travelers, then silent spectators. It is this thoughtful dimension of his writing that our next presenter now brings to life. Please welcome Ms. Zainab Dosaji from Tanzania, who will present philosophy.
Darshana, I think she is disconnected. So you can take the next participant, please.
Sure, sir. I would now like to invite Mrs. Geeta Seth Ji from Indonesia, who will present the poem titled Urban. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome with a round of applause.
Thank you so
Ma'am,
much.
over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we have such a young blood with great English. It encourages us all. And at the same time, we go back to our school times. Thank you so much. So I'm really honored to give a poem on Mr. Ezekiel. He was a wonderful person. What made him apart from other poets was his simplicity, his observation. He always said that the best poet should have the simplest of words. They even say that he had the words and his words had the power where a blind man could see and a deaf man could hear. Such was his simplicity. And of course, he has written many good, he had many great topics as poems, which was Lovers, Birds Watching, Night of a Scorpion. It was wonderful. So I'm honored to read his poem. Thank you so much. The name of his poem is Urban. The hills are always far away. He knows the broken roads and moves in circles tracked within his head before he wakes and has his say. The river which he claims he loves is dry and all the winds lie dead. At dawn, he never sees the skies, which silently are born again, nor feels the shadows of the night recline their fingers on his eyes. He welcomes neither sun nor rain. His landscape has no depth or height. The city like a passion burns. He dreams of morning's walks alone and floating on a wave of sand, but still his mind its traffic turns away from beach and tree and stone. He kindred clamor close at hand. We were sorry to lose him in 2004. He was born in 1924. I wish he could live more and he would have given us more wonderful poems. Thank you so much.
Geeta ji, very nice. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much,
indeed.
Geeta ma'am. Thank you very much, Geeta ma'am. Your expressive narration beautifully captured the rhythm of city life. Through your presentation, we experience how Nissim Ezekiel transformed everyday urban experiences into timeless poetry. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
While cities shape our experiences, solitude often shapes our understanding. In the busiest surroundings, there are moments we pause, reflect, and rediscover ourselves. Mr. Nissim Ezekiel understood this balance beautifully. His poetry could move effortlessly between the noise of the outside world and the quiet conversations within the human heart. He knew that every individual carries a private world, a place filled with memories, dreams, questions, and hopes. It is this inward journey that gives many of his poems such remarkable depth. Our next presentation explores that quieter, more reflective side of his writing. Let us now welcome Ms. Aarti Ganesh from Suriname, who will present Island. Let's give her a round of applause. Ms. Aarti, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Bishara. Good morning, everyone. At first, the island may appear to be a physical place, but throughout the poem, it becomes much more than that. It represents the speaker's home, identity, mind, memories, and struggles. The poem explores the conflict between belonging and wanting direction. As you listen, consider this question. Can a person truly escape the place that has shaped who they are? This is Island from Mr. Nissim Ezekiel. Unsuitable for song as well as sense, the island flowers into slums, and skyscrapers reflecting precisely the growth of my mind. I am here to find my way in it. Sometimes I cry for help, but mostly give my own counsel. I hear the sorted echoes of my own ambiguous voice, and of dragons claiming to be human. Bright and tempting breezes blow across the island, separating past from the future. Then the air is still again, as I sleep the fragrance of ignorance. How delight the soul with absolute sense of salvation! How hold to a single-willed direction! I cannot leave the island. I was born here and belong. Even though a host of miracles hurries me a daily business, minding the ways of the island as a good native should, taking calm and clamor in my stride. Thank you.
Very nice, Aarti. Miss Aarti ji, very nice.
Thank you very much, Miss Aarti. Your mesmerizing presentation told us to slow down and reflect. It reminded us that sometimes our greatest discoveries are not made while speaking, but while listening to ourselves. Thank you very much. One of the most fascinating aspects of Mr. Nissim Ezekiel's poetry is the way he celebrated identity. He believed that our traditions, our families, and our communities quietly shape the people we become. Although he embraced modern ideas, he never lost sight of his own cultural roots. His poems often reveal a deep respect for heritage, not as something that belongs only to the past, but as something that continues to live through people, relationships, and shared memories. It is this beautiful blend of personal memory and cultural identity that gives many of his works a lasting appeal. Our next presenter brings us with one such memorable poem. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Somadat Mitraji from India, who will be presenting Jewish Wedding in Bombay. Let's give her a round of applause. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Drishana, for this warm welcome. I was really mesmerized watching you from the beginning, being such a young compared today, with your poise and eloquence, with your intelligence and your confidence. It was like I was imagining myself. I was not that confident at your age. Well, and it is so nice to have young compeers in this platform. And I want to wholeheartedly thank Tufel Hemodji and Simiji for giving this opportunity to, share my piece of poetry. Whenever I come, I, get a gift of a wonderful glimpse of such fascinated, experiences here.
Thank you so very much for your kind words. Thank you.
You are really welcome. And when people like you take out of time out of the busy schedule and come on such platform, on such programs, not to recite own poetry, but to recite somebody else's poetry, that really shows that, you have the passion for literature, and you all are doing great service for literature. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, sir. Over Nissim Ezekiel's celebrated poetries today, I would like to relate a few things about him, which really matches with my self-written poetries over his idealism to connect to the ordinary social ironies and complexities of modern existence with wit and honesty, how he has crafted his poems. And the thing that the conversational language with subtle humor that he has related, the psychological insight of all his poems, which gives a reflection to the sentimental expression, is remarkable, which touches me deeply. And over this poem, I want to relate a few lines. uh, Jewish wedding in Bombay. Jewish wedding in Bombay portrays the wedding ceremony of the Bene Israel Jewish community. The poem vividly depicts the customs, rituals, and festive atmosphere surrounding the occasion. Ezekiel highlights the blending of Jewish traditions with Indian cultural practices, reflecting the community's unique identity. I will relate to the poem Jewish Wedding in Bombay. Her mother shed a tear or two, but wasn't really crying. It was the thing to do, so she did it enjoying every moment. The bride laughed when I sympathized and said, "Don't be silly." Her brothers had a shoe of mine, made me pay to get it back. The game delighted all the neighbors, children, who never stopped staring at me, the reluctant bridegroom of the day. There was no dowry because they knew I was modern and claimed to be modern too. Her father asked me how much jewelry I expected him to give away with his daughter. When I said I didn't know, he laughed it off. There was no brass band outside the synagogue, but I remember a chanting procession or two, some rituals, lots of skull caps, felt hats, decorated shawls, and grape juice from a common glass for bride and bridegroom. I remember the breaking of the glass and the congregation clapping, which signified that we were well and truly married according to the Mosaic law. Well, that's about all. I don't think there was much that struck me as solemn or beautiful. Mostly we were amused, and so were the others. Who knows how much belief we had? Even the most orthodox, it was said, ate beef because it was cheaper, and some even risked their souls by relishing pork. The Sabbath was for betting and swearing and drinking, nothing extravagant, mind you, all in a low key and very decently kept in check. My father used to say, "These Orthodox chaps certainly know how to draw the line in their own crude way." He himself had drifted into the liberal creed, but without much conviction, taking us with him. My mother was very proud of being progressive. Anyway, as I was saying, there was that clapping and letter when we went to the photographic studio of Lobo and Fernandez, world famous specialist in wedding portraits. Still later, we lay on floor mattress in the kitchen of my wife's family apartment, and though it was part midnight, she kept saying, "Let's do it, darling. Let's do it, darling." So we did. More than 10 years passed before she told me that. She remembered being very disappointed. Is that all there is to it? She wondered. Back from London 18 months later, I was horribly out of practice. During our first serious marriage quarrel, she said, "Why did you take my virginity from me? I would gladly have returned it." But not one of the books I had read instructed me how. Thank you so much. Here I conclude. Thank you for giving me this platform.
Wow, very nice. Beautiful.
Well presented, Somadatta ji. And when somebody presents like you, it really brings more meaning and life to the poem. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure,
Thank
and
you
thank
so
you
much,
for
ma'am.
giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your elegant and graceful presentation beautifully celebrated the richness of memory, tradition, and identity. It reminded us that poetry has a unique power to preserve not only emotions, but entire cultures and generations. Thank you so much, ma'am. As Mr. Nissim Ezekiel's literary journey continued, his voice became increasingly distinctive. Readers admired his honesty. Critics appreciated his originality. Young writers looked to him for inspiration. Yet he never stopped observing society with the same warmth and curiosity that had shaped his earliest poems. He had that rare ability to hold a mirror before the society, not to criticize, but to invite reflection with wit and compassion. He smiled at human nature, and in doing so, encouraged us to smile at ourselves. Our next poem is one of his most celebrated works, admired for its humor, insight, and unmistakable voice. It is my privilege to invite Ms. Pooja Parinwal from Nepal, who will present The Patriot. Let's welcome her with a round of applause. Ms. Pooja ji, over to you.
नमस्कार, अभिनंदन। पीएलजी हमारे सभी महान कवियों की यादों की पहचानों को निरंतर आगे ला रहा है और इस मंच के जरिए हमारे नन्हे कवियों के प्रतिभाओं को भी दर्शा रहा है। तो पैल सर, सिमी मैम और आप सभी पीएलजी की टीम मेंबर्स का जो योगदान है, ये एक नई सोच, एक नया निर्माण है, ये मैं इसकी बहुत-बहुत सराहना करती हूँ और बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद देती हूँ।
Thank you so very much for your kind words.
जो आपने हम सबको विदेशों में बैठे हुए जनों को एक-एक करके इस नई सोच, एक नए निर्माण के साथ जोड़ा है। जिससे कविताओं की पंक्तियों से दोहे बन जाते हैं, वैसे पीएलजी ने डिफरेंट कवियों को अलग-अलग जगह से इस मंच की स्थापना जो की है, बहुत सराहनीय है। मैं अपने बारे में बस इतना ही कहना चाहूँगी। मेरा नाम पूजा पालीवाल है। मैं भारत की बेटी हूँ। मैं नेपाल की बहू हूँ और चाइना हमारा कर्मस्थल है। एंड डाई हार्ड सोशल एक्टिविटीज़ हूँ। बहुत
पूजा जी, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
I think her connection has dropped. So let's move forward.
Sure, sir. Our next journey now brought us through the many dimensions of Nissim Ezekiel's life. The curious child, the thoughtful child, the observant citizen, the philosopher, the poet, and the keen observer of society. And with it, the opportunity to reflect on the legacy of a writer whose words continue to speak long after his lifetime. As we prepare for our final literary presentation, let us remember that while every poem has an ending, great literature truly never does. Its conversation continues with every new reader, and that is the final conversation that awaits us. As our literary journey gently approaches its final chapter, one thought is beautifully clear, that Mr. Nissim Ezekiel never wrote to impress. He wrote to connect, and while he was reflecting on family, questioning society, celebrating a city, or smiling at human behavior, his poems always invited us to pause and look at ourselves with honesty, often with humor. That ability to combine insight with simplicity is what made him one of the most defining voices of modern Indian English poetry. every generation discovers him anew, and every generation finds that his words can speak with remarkable freshness. And now it's my honor to invite Mr. Zoeb Banerjee from India, who will present for Love's Record. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a round of applause. Sir, over to you. Sir, you're muted. Sir, you're muted. Your voice is muted. You need to switch on your mic.
Yeah, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Before I start this poem, Nissim is Bombayite. He must have lived in a Jewish ghetto which is near Baikala. And there is a very famous synagogue there, David Sassoon, and there is a school. The poem that I am reciting, just give me a minute. The analysis on this poem is that it is a poignant, slightly detached meditation on a feeling unconventional romantic relations. The speaker reflects on a fiercely independent woman who gathers men like shells, but discards them without malice, operating outside traditional societal norms and common codes of love. So here goes my poem, for Love's Record. I watched the woman walk away with him. I watched the woman walk away with him, and now I think of her as bold and kind, who gathered men as shells and put them by. No matter how they loved, she put them by. I found no evil in her searching eyes. I found no evil in her searching eyes. Such love as hers could bear no common code. Energetic woman in her nights of joys, who gathers men as shells and put them by. With her I kept my distance. With her I kept my distance, but heard the music of a quickened breath, laughing circuses or harlequin. I must tell you, the word harlequin is not in the dictionary. It was a rugby team in 1866, which means roughness. I'll go back again. Laughing sausages and harlequins who gathered men as shells and put them by. Against my will, but somehow reconciled, but I let her go, who gave but would not bind. She grew in love and abandoning her ties. No matter how they loved, she put them by. Thank you. That is the point. Thank you very much.
Very nice, Zoeb. Thank you for being here.
I chose this subject because thank you very much. This also reminds me of the Mughal harem, where the females were locked in. This is very similar. This poem is very similar to that. They used to lock as harems. Women were locked for the king, and it was known as harem. So it is very similar to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Darshana, just to update you that Pooja ji is back and Zainab ji is also, connected.
Yes, sir. Sure. Thank you very much, Zoeb, sir. With your heartfelt presentation, you have brought us a poetic journey to a graceful and memorable. For Love's Record reminds us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. As Nissim Ezekiel's reputation continued to grow, readers began to admire not only what he wrote, but also the way he thought. His poems rarely gave ready-made answers. Instead, they encouraged reflection, He believed that literature should never dictate what we must think. Rather, it should inspire us to think for ourselves. Perhaps that was the influence of philosophy, a discipline he had studied formally, but one he practiced throughout his life. His questions were never distant or abstract. They emerged from everyday experience, from relationships, from society, from the choices we make.
Nafisa,
And exploring these questions, he invited readers to become fellow travelers rather than silent spectators. It is through this dimension of his writing that our next speaker now brings to life. Let us now welcome Ms. Zainab Dosaji from Tanzania, who will present philosophy. Let's give her a round of applause. Ma'am, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Drishna. Wonderful anchoring. Hello to Fair Sir, Simiji, and all participants here. A pleasure to be with you always.
Good
Saturdays
evening,
are filled with
Gujarati.
lots of
Most
joy.
welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay, here it goes. A poem by Nissim Ezekiel. There is a place to which I often go, not by planning to, but by a flow away from all existence, to a cool lucidity whose will is uncontrolled. Here, the mills of God are never slow. The landscape in its geological prime dissolves to show its quintessential slime. A million stars are blotted out. I think of each historic passion as a blink that happened to the sad eye of time. But residues of meaning still remain as darkest myths meander through the pain towards a final formula of light. I too reject this clarity of sight. What cannot be explained, do not explain. The mundane language of the senses sings its own interpretations. Common things become, by virtue of their commonness, an argument against their nakedness that dies of cold to find the truth it brings. The explanation, you're walking through the hustle and bustle of life. Beep beep, tick tock, buzz buzz, deadlines, responsibilities, expectations, the endless rush. Then suddenly everything goes silent. It's as though time itself has stopped. That is where Nissim Ezekiel takes us. He says there is a place he often visits, not with his feet, but with his mind. A place where he quietly steps away from the noise of the world and begins asking life's biggest questions. He looks at the mountains, stars, history, and even human emotions. And suddenly he realizes something. What feels enormous to us is only a tiny blink in the eyes of time. Our triumphs, our heartbreaks, even the greatest events in history blink, gone. Yet, in that silence, he discovers something beautiful. Even though life is filled with mysteries, little pieces of meaning remain, like tiny lamps glowing in the darkness. They continue guiding us. But then comes the most powerful line of the poem. What cannot be explained, do not explain. The poet reminds us that not every mystery is meant to be solved. Can you explain why one sunset moves you to tears? Can you explain exactly why you love someone? Can you explain every twist of destiny? Some things are simply meant to be felt. Finally, he brings us back to everyday life. The chirping of birds, the laughter of a child, the fragrance of rain, a simple smile, things we often overlook. He tells us, he tells us that these ordinary moments quietly carry extraordinary truths. So the message of this poem is simple yet profound. Keep asking questions, keep seeking wisdom, but also accept that some of life's greatest truths cannot be captured by words. Sometimes the deepest answers are found not in complicated philosophy, but in quietly living, observing, and appreciating the beauty hidden in ordinary life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very nice, Sakina ji.
Thank you,
You
Simiji.
recited very well.
Thank you.
Very much, Zainab ji. With elegance and clarity and a beautiful presentation, you made us visualize that the purpose of philosophy is not merely to provide answers, but to deepen our understanding of life's many questions. With such a
Thank
voice
you.
modulation and elegance, we all were transported into another world of poetry. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you too. Thank you very much.
As Nissim Ezekiel's literary journey continued, his voice became increasingly distinctive. Readers
Kavi.
admired his honesty, critics appreciated his originality, and young writers looked to him for inspiration. Yet, he never stopped observing society with that same warmth and curiosity that had shaped his earlier poems. He had that rare ability to hold a mirror for society, not to criticize, but to invite reflection with wit and compassion. He smiled at human nature and in doing so encouraged us to smile at ourselves. Our next poem is one of his most celebrated works, admired for its humor and unmistakable voice. As we now have Miss Pujadi back, I would like to invite her to present The Patriot. Ma'am, over to you. Ma'am, your mic is muted.
Yeah, Pooja ji.
Hanji. Thank you so much, Ms. Krishna, for giving me second chance because of VPN issues. I'm very sorry I've had disconnected. So I'm very grateful today that I have getting chance by this platform to say something for Nissim sir. And he's a very great poet and very good writer. He was a foundation figure of in post-colonial India literacy history, specifically for Indian poetry in English Desi style English. Sahitya Academic Award 1983 and Padma Shri 1988 उनको मिला था और उन्होंने अचीव किया ये और भारत के लिए एक बहुत ही महान हमारे कवि साहब और लेखक जो रहे जिन्हें हमारे असमन्वित रूप से हम सब याद कर रहे हैं आज। तो ये पीएलजी का बहुत बहुत बड़ा एक योगदान है कि हमारे कोई भी जो हमारे जिन्हें हमें इस पीएलजी के मंच ने आज भी जिंदा रखा है। और निसिम जी के बारे में मैं इतना ही कहूंगी कि बहुत स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड रियलिस्टिक चीजों पे बात करने वाले ऑफ सिटी लाइफ एंड बहुत ही सटल उनका एक तरीका था। एक सटायर उनके जो व्यंग भी थे बहुत ही सटल तरीके से वो पेश करते थे। उनका जन्म जो है आप सबको पता ही है कि मुंबई में जैनिश फैमिली से हुआ था एंड ही मूव्ड इंग्लैंड फॉर हिज फर्दर स्टडीज। साइकोलॉजी उन्होंने लंदन से की एंड जम्बो एंड इन प्रिंट ही फाउंडेड। तो बस ये जो एक आज मुझे जो एक पोएम मिली है द पैट्रियट, इट्स वेरी क्लोज टू माई हार्ट बिकॉज आई एम वेरी प्राउड इंडियन। आई फील भारत हमको जान से भी प्यारा है, सबसे अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा है। तो ये जो एक द पैट्रियट है इट्स वेरी 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 क्लोज टू माई हार्ट। और जब मुझे सिमी जी ने बताया कि मुझे एक टॉपिक चुनना है तो जैसे मैंने स्क्रॉल किया और जैसे ये द पैट्रियट का एक आया तो एक अपने आप ही गुनगुनाहट आ गई और आई जस्ट स्टार्टेड स्टडिंग अबाउट दिस। Although I'm not a good poet, but still I have very I'm very grateful to Simi ji and Tufyal sir जो उन्होंने मुझे ये स्थान दिया है। तो मैं थोड़ा थोड़ा ट्राई कर रही हूँ। तो कम टू द इस पोएम पे मैं आना चाहूंगी। ये आई एम स्टैंडिंग फॉर पीस एंड नॉन वायलेंस, Why word is fighting? Ekdam desi English, Why all peoples of world are not following Mahatma Gandhi? I'm simply not understanding. Asian Indian wisdom is 100% correct. According to Nissim जी, वो कहते थे कि Asian Indian wisdom 100% correct है. I should say even 200% correct. But modern generation is neglecting too much, going for fashion and foreign things. Other day, I am reading in newspaper, Nissim ji कह रहे हैं, other day, I am reading in newspaper, every day I am reading Times of India to improve my English language. How come a Gunda fellow, Gunda fellow, because this is in the patriot में उन्होंने देशी इंग्लिश का प्रयोग किया है, एकदम typical Indian English types. तो how one Gunda fellow throws stone at Indra Behan. वो कह रहे हैं must be student, unrest follow. I am thinking friends, Roman countrymen, I am saying वो अपने आप से कह रहे हैं land in my cars, yes. Everything is coming, degeneration, humanization, contractions. Be patiently, brothers and sisters. We want one glass of lassi, very good for digestion. अब वो जो उनके सामने उनकी पोएम को सुन रहे हैं, वो उनको ऑफर कर रहे हैं with little salt, lovely drink. वो लस्सी को एक्सप्रेस करते हुए बता रहे हैं You want one glass of lassi? Very good for digestion. Very little salt, lovely drink, better than wine. Not that I am ever tasting the wine. वो clear कर रहे हैं. Not that I am ever tasting the wine. I am the total taller, completely total. But I say wine is for the drunkards only. उसके बाद वो आगे बढ़ रहे हैं. What you think of prospects of world peace? Pakistan and other countries behaving like this. It's making me very sad. I'm telling you. Really? Most harassing me. All the men are brothers, no? In India also. Gujaratis, Maharashtrians, Hinduism, all brothers. Through some are having funny habits. Still, you tolerate me? I tolerate you. One day, Ram Rajya is surely coming. बहुत कॉन्फिडेंस, बहुत विश्वास के साथ निसिम जी कह रहे हैं, मैं ये बिलीव करता हूँ कि एक दिन राम राज आएगा. Thank you so very much.
So nice presentation, Pooja ji.
Very
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you very much, Pooja ji. Your
Thank you.
lively and engaging presentation beautifully captured the wit and gentle irony that makes this poem such a favorite among readers. It reminded us that the finest satire never humiliates. It enlightens with smile. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this evening we have celebrated the written word in many beautiful forms. We have experienced poetry as reflection, as observation, as humor, as philosophy, and as memory. But the love for literature doesn't end with poetry alone. It also flourishes with creativity, collaboration, and the joy of sharing ideas. It now gives me immense pleasure to invite Mr. Tufelji to present the magazine display, a wonderful showcase of imagination, expression, and the collective efforts of our learners. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Drishna. Now, before I display the magazine, I would like to take a moment to appreciate our young anchor, Drishna. Drishana, you have been doing rather a truly wonderful job today. Your confidence, clarity, and graceful presence have added a very special charm to this program. It's not easy to conduct a literary session on poet like Nissim, but you have handled it with maturity, enthusiasm, and sincerity. And I'm really an admirer of your vocabulary skills, your fluency of language as a grade 7 student. I'm sure you will go, go miles. Definitely. And, to complement it further, our very, old member from USA, Mr. Khalik Wajidi, he has been watching you on YouTube and he has sent a message that, I must tell you that you have been doing a wonderful anchoring. He says that you are really excellent today. So that's additional compliment to you. Right, let's go to the magazine. And here is the magazine. Let me share the magazine. Where is that? Here. Can you all see the magazine?
Yes, sir, we can.
Hey, Tushal bhai, if I may interrupt for a minute?
Oh,
and
you
just
are
for
already
30
here.
seconds.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I wish I can turn on my camera, but I am on the road. In our childhood, we read a poem, "Child is the father of man," and I was like, now I truly believe why it was said like that. So I'm really amazed to kind of listen to her. I apologize, I couldn't remember her name. But
Drishana.
yeah, Trishana, you are fantastic. You're fantastic. Keep it up and way to
Thank you so
go.
much, sir.
So now you have heard from the horse's mouth also.
So I'll mute myself. There is a lot of traffic, and I don't want to interrupt.
Not a problem. And thank you for being here and encouraging this young girl. I'm sure she, she is going to be an asset for not only for PLG, for the entire literary community.
Yeah. So just to add, I'm biking. I was biking, and I thought, maybe I'll disconnect. But just to when I was started listening to her, I was like, wow. I was like, I should continue listening to her and not disconnect from Zoom. So
That's
thank you again.
definitely that's true for Darshana. Yeah, Pooja ji, you want to say a few things?
But you
Yeah,
called me
very
old.
quickly.
You called me old, so that's not something I appreciate.
Well, means when the young girl like Darshana and other, Devam and all are there, we all become old only, Khalik ji, but you are always young by heart.
There you go. Thank you.
Right. Yes, Pooja ji, very briefly, please.
दिशवाना मैंने आपके लिए लास्ट स्टेंजा बचा के रखा था द पेट्रियट का यू आर गोइंग बट यू विल विजिट अगेन एनी टाइम एनी डे आई एम नॉट बिलीविंग इन सेरेमनी always I'm enjoying your company. Thank you so much for hosting this program. Thank you so very much.
Definitely, that really complements very well to how she has performed today. Thank you very much. And let's move on to the magazine display. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know that PLG publishes a magazine every week. That's amazing, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Yes, and this magazine, as you know, is based on the program on the poems which were recited in the last session. And the PLG magazine team works really hard throughout the week to present you this magazine every week. Publishing a magazine every week is not a joke, it's a very tough task.
Very tough task.
And PLG editorial board, along with the media team, has been doing this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for almost 6 years now. So that's really a salute to the entire team, especially our chief editor, Anupam Pathak ji, who is busy with something which has cropped up and he is not able to connect today. So he has given me this great responsibility or to display this magazine, which truly speaking, he deserves to display. But I am just officiating on behalf of the chief editor and the entire editorial team. This is an artwork which has been produced by Dr. Shalini Gupta ji. She is our art design editor also, and it's a beautiful artwork. She is a very famous artist. So you can expect this kind of art from her definitely. The next is the media report, which is written by Gopal Sinha ji. And we continue with the magazine. So this media report, and then there are poems, which is written, which were read last week. And this is Dr. Meeta Sharma, and then Rashmi Singhal ji, Gopal Sinha ji, Rizwana Parvez ji, Dr. Shivani Chandra ji, Neha Sharma ji, Aarti Bakshi ji, Neha Makwana ji, Sandra Lutawan ji, Archana Verma ji, Sudeep Deshpande ji. And then we have the anchor of the last week, that is Purnima Singh ji. And then you can see we publish the people whom we call Sahitya ke Sarthi. You might have seen that after every participant, for every participant, I take a photo and post on the group, WhatsApp group. And after every participant, also I take a photograph of the screen and post on the group. And from that, Pathak ji comes to know that who is the Sahitya ke Sarthi, means people who have, who, are present throughout the program. And they are definitely a Sahitya ke Sarthi, isn't it? Because of them only such program, flourishes. And then there is the editorial board. The last week participants, then the contributors to e-magazine, and then we have the PLG executives, and on the last page we have the PLG calendar also. So if any of you, whether here on Zoom or listening to the from YouTube, want to participate in PLG program, please choose your favorite program and message to the Director of Operations, Simmeji. If there is any vacancy, she will be very happy to include you in the program. And this is the recap of the last program with the posters. And with that, and before I end, I must appreciate Anupam Pathak ji, whom I always say that he not only prepares the magazine with devoting his time, but he puts heart behind this magazine, which is very much obvious from the quality of magazine you see, the error-free magazine you see, from the time which he has taken up as a chief editor. There has been no delay in the magazine. The magazines are always published on time. Even when he is busy, like he is today, not only today, means he is busy this week, but then the magazine is here for you. So a real round of applause for him. Thank you very much. And this magazine is dedicated to all the poetry lovers. Please read it and preserve it by downloading it. I'm sure you all will enjoy. Thank you very much. Over to you, Darshana.
Thank you very much, Professor. That was really, truly inspiring. And the magazine is much more than a collection of pages. It is a celebration of creativity, thoughtful expression, passion for learning that brings us together. And also congratulations to the entire editorial team for this wonderful achievement. Also, thank you all for your blessings, which will help me further to learn more and do much better. Thank you very much. Every successful program is the result of countless efforts that often remain behind the scene. As we come to the conclusion of this memorable evening, it's time to express a heartfelt gratitude to everyone who made this possible. To deliver the vote of thanks, I now have the privilege of inviting our Director of Operations, Ms. Simi Kumari ji, to present the vote of thanks. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so very much, Miss Dishana. Thank you so very much. Good evening, salam, namaskar, good morning. As we come to the end of this wonderful literary evening, it is my privilege to present the vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude for the CTL Celebrate the Legend series. This initiative is much more than a poetry session. It is a remarkable learning platform where we explore the lives, literary journey, and timeless works and legendary poets. Through CTL, we not only read their poems, but also understand their thoughts, writing styles, and the lasting impact they have had on literature. Every session enriches our knowledge, broadens our perspective, and inspires us to become better readers and writers. Today's session on Nissim Ezekiel was truly enriching. His poetry, with its simplicity, humor, and profound observation on Indian life, continues to inspire literature lovers across generations. A very special appreciation goes to our wonderful anchor, Miss Drishana Daria. It is truly amazing that she is a class 7 student, yet her confidence, clarity, and stage presence are extraordinary. Anyone listening to her anchoring for the first time would be pleasantly surprised by her maturity and professionalism. Being associated with the Gavel Club, she has developed remarkable communication and public speaking skills. She conducted the entire session very confidently with excellent command of English, keeping the audience engaged from beginning to end. Her presentation on Nissim Ezekiel was informative and well researched, introducing us to many interesting facts about his life, literary journey, and remarkable contribution to Indian English poetry. Miss Drishana, your confidence, dedication, and expressional talent, such as young age, are truly inspiring. We are proud of you and wish you a bright and successful future ahead. God bless you, Miss Drishana. I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all participants and audience members joining us from 10 different countries. Your enthusiastic presence truly reflects the global spirits of the poetry and literary group and demonstrates that literature has the power of connect hearts beyond geographical boundaries. A special word of appreciation goes to Naren Chawla ji, Master Devam, Sangeeta Sinha ji, Miss Alokita, Miss Elena, Miss Aarti Ganesh, Geeta Seth ji, Somdatta Mitra ji, Pooja Parliwal ji, and Zoeb ji, Zainab ji. Thank you all for wonderful presentation, thoughtful contribution, and enthusiastic participation. Your efforts made today's CTL session on Nissim Ezekiel was enriching and memorable. Thank you so much to each one of you for making this program a grand success. A heartfelt thanks to all our audience members for your constant encouragement and support throughout the program. Your presence and appreciation truly boosted our confidence and morale. Thank you, Khalid ji and Maqsood ji. I would like to thank Global President Tufail ji. I would like to thank Global Vice President Satish ji and Anupam ji. I would like to thank Media Advisor and Social Media Head Kapil ji. I would like to thank Chief Editor Anupam Pathak ji. I would like to thank our Design Editor Dr. Shalini ji. I would like to thank Media Head Gopal ji. I would like to thank Media Managers Gopal ji, Anjali ji, Vijay ji, Purnima ji, Sherepanu ji, and Anupam ji. I would like to thank IT Head Manohar ji. I would like to thank Amir and Arif for poster and video. I would like to thank Zoeb ji for CTL cover page. We will meet again next week at the PLG India special program. Until then, please permit us to take your leave. Wishing you all a wonderful week ahead. Thank you and goodbye.
And with that, signing off the program.